Hi and a very welcome to my channel. This is U2CANB Great. Okay, this is the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 14, episode 12 review, trust planning issues. And of course, Marlo has beef with herself. I am going to also newsflash do Basketball Wives. I don't know if I'm doing Married to Medicine yet. I'm a little behind on reviews and I have a great excuse. I am carrying again. I'm with child again, and the fatigue is again affecting me. If you don't know how it affected me last time, just go ahead and look at the past videos. I would say about 7 months ago and see how it was for me. It was very difficult and it was hard for me to keep up, and I'm gonna take my health first. So I'm gonna get your videos out as soon as I can, as early as I can, and be as enthusiastic so I can give you guys the reads and the juices like I normally do. So just bear with me, all right? And thank you so much for supporting me thus far. So I am getting tired of hearing about She by Sheree. I don't want to talk about it because she don't exist. I want to talk about it when she's in reality. Right now, she's all a figment of Sheree's imagination. So until this She by Sheree is a reality for us where we can go and click and purchase, I don't want to hear about it. So they need to just stop putting it as part of her storyline. It's boring. The Tyrone situation was far more interesting, but we have yet to see him. And according to news, Sheree's dating somebody else from Love and Marriage, Huntsville. So I'm over here not wanting to hear about She by Sheree. Let's hear about something else. Then we get to the next scene. We know that Ace is having his 6th birthday party. It's nice that we are able to see Ace and Kandi's children kind of grow. We were there when she got pregnant. We were there when she had the baby. We were there when she was planning on having the baby with Todd, discussing a family, how they wanted to do it, whether it was appropriate, even through mommy drama with Kandi's side of the family. We all got to see that evolve. And then when he came about, his cuteness and where he is now. Kandi, out of all the Real Housewives, I think has been a veteran, and she has done a great job around. She may have a monotone voice and she may make me go to sleep sometimes when she talks, but out of all the housewives, she has made lemonade out of lemons. She has built multiple businesses. She's made money that is outside of Real Housewives of Atlanta and outside of Escape. And then Todd being with her, they have built restaurants. They have had things that they've done with the, Kandi Online show, the Kandi Coded Nights. She's done a great job, and of course the plays. So I'm very proud of her and her progress and her growth from what we've seen her from season 1, I believe, all the way to season 14. So kudos to Kandi. Then we get to Sheree and Marlo, and they're meeting up to have a meet and greet type conversation. And before they're joined by Sanya, Marlo decides to talk to Sheree, and she's talking shit about her nephews. And I'm going to say that because that's exactly what she was doing. Marlo, this acting thing that she's doing where she's crying and, oh, I'm going through a lot and I just needed some break and some time, BS that she's doing, I'm not buying it. And anybody else who's buying it, you being fooled. Because why are you sitting here bad-mouthing your nephews to Sheree? You're sitting up here talking about, Michael calls me, or whatever the other kid calls me and says Michael stays in bed all day. He doesn't even brush his teeth. He's playing Roblox all day and he's in bed. And she's calling her sister, who already had 4 kids, to complain about her parenting style. You saddled her with 2 more kids in addition to the 4 that she had, and you're expecting her to now be able to now manage all those kids by herself, while you get to go and have cabin trips and pamper yourself and play by yourself and do all the stuff you want to do, and then cry to us about how much you miss them, but you have yet to go and get them from her. And now you're sitting there bad-mouthing them as if any of the behavioral patterns that you seem to be so annoyed about isn't normal for a teenage boy. Are you serious? How many teenagers are not selfish? Riddle me that. It's like they're ingrained in their DNA. It's me, 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 me. Unless you have one of those teenagers that's unfortunate to be raised by a drug addict parent, or have an abusive parent, or has to have been in foster care and had to grow up too quickly, a majority of them who have lived a relatively safe life are selfish by nature. So would he rather get up and brush his teeth or go ahead and play Roblox or play Fortnite? That is exactly what their age bracket entails. For you to be sitting up here talking shit about them after you kicked them out of your house, when you accepted responsibility for them, when they begged you to come pick them up after their mom had a mental health breakdown, do you feel good about yourself, Marlo? Because when you say stuff like this, which Bravo is showing us for a reason, and then you turn around and start boohooing later about your mental, I don't feel sorry for you. Save those crocodile tears for somebody who's gonna believe your bullshit. Then we have Sanya joining them, you know, the little messy group. Sanya is now joining Sheree and Marlo, and Sheree needs to be careful because Marlo's a snake. Sheree right now is building a close relationship with Marlo because Marlo only has Sheree on her side. Kandi did not like what Marlo did. Drew is like looking, you know, her and Marlo are cool, but not that close because Marlo keeps shading her and calling her dumb and ditzy. We got Kenya, who is completely done with Marlo and not wanting to do with her. She's giving her, paying her 1000% dust. Fatum is on Sheree's side, and we have Monyetta, who's on nobody's side. The only person that Marlo can have that she can call a genuine friend is Sheree, and so she's holding on to her like a dog with a bone. Sanya's coming in, and Sanya's joining the mix of the mess. And Sanya comes in and she says, oh my gosh, I'm so happy about this Jamaican trip that I am sponsoring based on the company that is sponsoring us and iFit or whatever the case is. I want to call Kenya and I want to express that this is the couple's trip. On the other side of the screen, you see Kenya, Kandi, Kenya, and Drew hanging out and recapping life in general. Kandi discussing her hardship and what's going on with her and her show and her play and how it's stalled and how she's busted her butt and she's in the confessionals crying. You know, real life stuff that makes sense. Meanwhile, Drew is being asked about how she literally put a literal bone in her hand or in her bag and then brought it over to the cabin wherever they were at in the middle of nowhere to throw it at Fatum and bark at her. So they're like, she's the literal bone carrier, and they're talking to her about it. They're all gisting, having fun, enjoying their time. Sanya then calls and Kenya picks up the phone. Sanya says, I want to stress that is a couple's trip. Now, before Sanya could get out, that couple doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a husband or a boyfriend. That couple could mean that you bring a friend. Before she could push that out, Kenya took it as a dig towards her because everybody knows, and we all know about Mark. We know that for sure because Marlo has been throwing Mark in her face since the season started. So we know that Mark and her are currently going through a divorce. That's something that she's still going through. So when you're going to call her and talk about, you know, it's a couple's thing, Kenya took it as this is a dig. This is a inconsiderate thing to say to me. Kenya is in a better space and she doesn't want to deal with BS. And the very fact that Sanya was doing it in front of Marlo made her feel some type of way. Do I understand why Kenya reacted the way that she reacted and hung up on her? Yes. But do I understand Kenya's motive and why Sanya's motive and why she felt that was she could have sent it in a text. She didn't have to call in Marlo's presence. She didn't have to do that. I feel like Sanya has these moments where she seeks attention. And it makes me question her motive in the decision-making process that she makes. Some of you are Sanya's fan. Some of you think Sanya has a good heart. Me, I'm a little bit confused because some of her actions seem like she thought about it. You know, like it was premeditated. It doesn't seem like it's something that's just, you know, like authentic. And for me, I feel like she changes her character based on who she's in front of. If she's in front of Marlo, she kind of feeds off Marlo's negative energy and does some shady stuff. If she's in front of Kenya, she acts like she's sympathetic to Kenya's plight. Meanwhile, knowing that her and Marlo are not seeing eye to eye, but you make the effort to call Kenya and to talk about your trip being a couple's trip in front of her, it just seems like it's divisive in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. That's just my assessment. I could be wrong. I'm not perfect. I'm just saying this is what I'm seeing with this heifer. So Kenya hangs up on her saying, I'm not even dealing with this child. Sanya's like, what? Oh my gosh, I'm so offended. I'm gonna have to address that with her later. Marlo has the audacity to look like she's shocked as if what Kenya did was so terrible. And I'm like, Marlo, we saw you kick your nephews out of the house after you took them in and said you were going to take care of them. That is nothing. That is a lot compared to Kenya just hanging up the phone on somebody. You need to worry about your closet and the dirty stuff. Don't be looking at somebody else and have the nerve to judge because we're still judging you. Then we have Marlo's pity party visit to Dr. Tart. Dr. Tart was referred to her by Sheree, and Sheree told her that she needed to go talk to somebody and maybe air out whatever it is and get her mental health together. She goes to him and she starts off with the tears. I'm just so nervous. I'm just really nervous about the situation. I just don't know what I'm gonna do. And of course the doctor don't know her child. He don't know that this girl is a wicked person. So he gives her, you know, a napkin just to be chivalrous, and because he wants his check to cash. So she's sitting there and she goes, I recently went through a lot of stuff. And he's listening and she said, you know, 3 years ago, and they flash back to 2019, she said, my nephews called me because my sister had a mental health breakdown. And my nephews called me to come pick them. They said, Auntie, can you come get us? And I rushed over and I picked them up. But then time flew. the years went by. It's 2019, and it's going by, and I just lost it, because I feel like the kids are ungrateful and they don't appreciate anything, and they're taking everything for granted. And for me, it's like I got really frustrated with them, because now I have to yell at them, and it makes me feel bad inside, because now I have to talk crazy to them, because if I ask them to make their beds, and if I ask them to do things, they'll tell me they did it, but they didn't do it, and then they'll get mad and punch walls. Why after they find out that their mom just had a mental health breakdown. And for me, I just want to, play with them, hang out with them, be Monty, and have fun. Forget the fact that they're teenage kids, that they're still growing up and they need a parent, not a friend. But that's what I was trying to be to them. And so when that didn't happen, I just felt it was making me feel so horrible. So I just told him to get out. And I commend the Dr. Tart for holding his composure, because if I'm listening to that BS story, you're not telling me that your nephews try to kill you in your sleep. You're not telling me that the nephews were talking about shooting up a school. You didn't tell me that your nephews themselves have mental health breakdowns, and that you just did not have the tools as a psychologist equipped to go ahead and help them recover. You're not telling me that your nephews were beating your ass. You're not telling me that your nephews were running away. You're not telling me that your nephews were shoplifting. You're not telling me the nephews were getting in trouble with the law, hanging out with gang members and smoking weed and pot and crack and methamphetamine and doing all the stuff up in the street that they're not supposed to be doing. You're not telling me that your nephew was out here fucking some bitch and trying to get her pregnant. What you're saying is you told him to make his bed, and he said yes, he made the bed, but he didn't. That's what you mad? That's what frustrates you, girl? She fixed her mouth and she said, I never thought wanting to have kids because I didn't want to be like my mama. Well, heifer, you really are like your mama. You just acted just like her. You did. Because everything that you just complained about is a completely normal behavior of a teenage kid, not just boys and girls, in considering the circumstances. They're lashing out, and you have to be a parent. And if they don't make their bed, take his video game from him. If he doesn't make his bed, make sure you wake him up 30 minutes early and stand there and watch him make the bed. If he doesn't put his clothes away, you put the clothes away with them to make sure they get it done. These are kids. They're not adults that you can just tell them to do something and be like, okay. I mean, can you imagine when you were kids and your parents tell you, baby, did you do your homework? You know dang well you didn't do that homework. And then when they say, okay, we'll bring it here, let me check, you'd be like, I gotta find it, Mom. Give me an hour to go and look for it, because I have to dig into the backpack first, right? Then I have to scuttle through all these books and papers. I have to push it to the side. Then there might be some pencil, little pencil crushes in the middle. I need to just go ahead and make sure I pick it apart. But the whole process of me finding that homework that I told you I did, but I didn't do it, is gonna take me an hour. So I'll be back in an hour. We all remember those days when we were lying to our parents left and right. Did you make your bed? I sure did make my bed. And then the parents will flip over the covers, and all they see is that you just took the big comforter and covered it, that you didn't actually make the inside bed. Or they'll say clean your room, and you got stuff shoved under the bed, you got stuff piled in the closet. Girl, that is all normal. They are kids, and that's what they're gonna do. So I'm sitting here with this counselor listening to you complain, and I'm trying to empathize with your plight, but all I want is my paycheck. Because I don't feel sorry for you. I feel more sorry for those kids having to call you to ask for help. You agreed to help them because their mother is behind bars for a mental health issue, trying to get help, and now you're just gonna toss them to the side like they're a piece of trash because they frustrated you. Girl, bye. Anyway, because in my mind, I'm like, why did you pick them up in the first place? What's the point? What's the purpose? What did you want? Some accolades while you were on Real Housewives of Atlanta so we can go clap for you, and then when it got too much for you, just throw them away? Then you have a foster care nonprofit. You have a foster care nonprofit. Kids who have been literally tossed to the side. You have that nonprofit, and you literally toss your nephews to the side. Girl, how are you going to live this? You think this guilt thing that you're doing, this little guilt trip stuff that you're doing, is going to make us not see it? I mean, I'm trying to make sense of it. Make it make sense. Then we have Kandi, Kayla, Riley, and Todd having their family conversation regarding the trust and the family will, or making a trust. Now, Kandi clearly had more money and more properties and more investments than Todd when Todd came into the relationship. Does that mean that Todd was poor? No. Todd has his own job. He was able to sustain himself. He had maybe one property that was, that was under his name. He had himself content where he was comfortable. It wasn't a lot of money to the level of Kandi's, but it was enough to where he was okay, and he can have a family of his own. That's fact. Now that they've gotten together, they've had businesses they've built together. Now, Bravo was shady and showing us the long list of Kandi's accolades and the list of 2 on Todd's accomplishment. It's pretty sad. We can tell that they're not weighed the same. But they still got married, and when you get married, you combine your assets and you are one. So they're now deciding, okay, well, what if something happens to me? We should have a trust on how we want to divvy up our finances, how we want to divvy up our properties. We have 4 kids to split our investments between who gets what and whatever, so on and so forth. Kandi, in this situation, makes a statement that she feels like if anything happens to her, Todd may be too strict on the kids because she's more free with giving money. Okay, I can understand Kandi's standpoint being more free giving money because she has a lot of it to give. Todd's own situation, he probably had to claw his way from the bottom up. Not that Kandi didn't work hard with a single parent. I'm not saying that. But there's working hard to work a 9 to 5, and there's working hard to where you hit millions. You understand what I'm saying? There's a difference where you're making 6 figures and when you're making millions. When you have millions, you're more free with your money, with your children, and you tend to spoil them more because you have the money to give. Why not spoil them? But when you have worked your way hard and all you get is 6 figures, yeah, you give your kids money, but I don't think you give them a whole condo, a whole, like freaking Porsche or, Mercedes or something that Kandi would do for Riley. That's not the same mindset. Does that mean that Todd will not take care of Riley? No, I don't think so. I just think that because of his different experience and how he became famous, his was a little bit of a different walk in life. He's more frugal with his money. Not necessarily that he won't give it. He just wants the kids to understand the significance of how much he had to work to get to where he is. He doesn't feel like giving kids money and giving them whatever is going to teach them the value of what they had to do to get to where they're at. Riley already sounds spoiled because Kandi already overindulged her. That's a fact. Does that mean that she's a bad kid? No, but she is a spoiled one. Now, Kayla, however, has not experienced that level of spoiledness from Todd, even though Kandi doesn't want to spoil her the same way, and that's a good stepmom on her part. Todd wants to be careful in how his daughter is raised because he wants her to understand hard work. Now, Kandi should have been very careful with her words. She should not have expressed that she feels like Todd will not be able to do things the way that she'll do it in front of the kids. I think that that's something she should have done in private because it sows certain seeds when children like Riley, who already has a mouth on her, and Kayla do not feel like the parents are on one accord. So I don't think that was the best location to say it, but should she have said it, that's how she felt, yes, she had every right to do so, express yourself. But ultimately, they look like they love each other, and Todd's feelings were hurt by that, and I understand that, but they've been married for a long time and they've had good rapport and they have 4 children and they're doing great from what I can see. So I'm not worried about them having this little disagreement. It's just a disagreement, they'll work it out. Then we get to the gathering at Sanya's house because she invited them prior when she called them to a gathering at her house. We learned that Sanya's house is not even in Atlanta. It's in the kingdom of far, far, far away. You have to, walk, skip, crawl, drive, fly, and then hop over an ocean to get to her house. And then when you get there, you find that Monietta is there, Drew's on her way there, Marlo, Kenya, Kandi. We did not know at this point that this was supposed to be a surprise birthday party for Sheree. At least I didn't know. I may have missed the scene. I wasn't paying attention. But that was a surprise birthday party for Sheree. But before Sheree gets there, Kenya comes in and Kenya is paying no attention to Marlo. Marlo is beefing with herself. She goes in the confessional saying, no matter how hard you try to ruin my day, Miss Kenya, you will not. And they show Kenya. Kenya walked right past her like she didn't even exist. Like she was just an air or a tree just standing that she had to walk around. And Marlo says, hi, Kenya. Kenya didn't even talk to her. Kenya didn't even speak to her. Kenya's like, you know what? I'm sick of you and your little toxic energy. Bye, Felicia. She don't want to talk to you. And I'm just sitting there looking at Marlo like, Marlo, we are watching you. And we're looking at you trying to find some imaginary beef, and we don't feel sorry for you. We just look at you and you're just sad at this point. I don't even know what to say about you, Marlo. You just looking all sorts of pathetic. Then Sanya says that she decides to show Kenya around the house. One, because she wants Kenya's opinion on the maybe furniture, maybe light fixtures, her idea and her opinion on things she can put around her house to make it more better or make it pop. 1, and 2, she wanted to check Kenya for Kenya hanging up in her face on the phone when she called her in front of Marlo to say that she wanted it to be a couple's trip. And of course, Marlo gets jealous. As soon as Kenya disappears, because Kenya is always on her mind, Marlo's downstairs, Sanya, girl, come feed us. And I'm just looking at her like, girl, you are pressed when it comes to Kenya, Marlo has a huge heart on for her. The envy that she has for Kenya is to the point where I feel like she does need to be evaluated. She might need to be studied. All I'm saying is this level of effort for somebody who's not paying you any mind is interesting, especially at your age. Then Sanya starts talking to Kenya and said, I didn't appreciate it when you hung up the phone on me. And Kenya says, listen, the way that you were talking to me was condescending. And I understand that the situation when you're talking to me, I'm going through a divorce. And I just thought that it was a lack of understanding on your part and an insensitive thing to say when you know what I'm going through, but you want to now announce to me that you want it to be a couple's trip when I'm not a couple right now. And Sanya apologized again, told her that she didn't realize she was, exuding that, and she would want to, disrespect her in the future and make her feel some type of way. They rectify it. Of course, if Marlo was there, Marlo would not let them fix things. Meanwhile, Kandi was downstairs giving Marietta the tea about Kenya hanging up on Sanya. And Marlo having the nerve to say, you should never hang up on a person. Y'all supposed to be grown. I'm like, you should never kick out your nephews after you agree to take care of them. You should be grown. I mean, is that what we're going to do, tit for tat? Then we have Sheree showing up for her birthday surprise, and they're singing at her at the door. They have made Sheree a very important part of the season ever since she was embarrassed epically on national television by Tyrone when she was left there by herself when they were supposed to meet up for lunch or whatever. So now they're doing little things to basically help her ego. And one of the things that they do is a birthday party. Now, I'm happy for Sheree because I'm glad to see her happy finally. They do a birthday for her. Sanya does a birthday for her. And Sanya decides to feed him some food. And they're all complaining that food is dry. And they need to wash it down with a drink. Now, I appreciate Sanya's effort. But there were a lot of complaints at that party. They said that there was no bartenders. The food was dry. The photo booth didn't work. I mean, Drew even suggested this was her kid's birthday party or a party a party seated that's basically unfinished. There was an extra shade at that party. And Kenya talked about how much the food was dry. I'm just saying I wasn't at the party. But it's the thought that counts because even Sheree, the guest of honor, has some issues about some of the things that were going wrong at her own birthday party. I'm just saying the thought counts, girl. I appreciate you doing that. But you dropped a few balls. At least have some good drinks so they can be drunk and enjoy this dry food at the same time. That way, if it's dry, they wouldn't care because they're tipsy. It wouldn't matter. Now, it was time to eat. So they're eating. And then while they sit down, of course, Drew has poor timing. And unfortunately, poor baby does not know how to argue because she fixes her mouth and targets the worst person out of the group to target for a read, Sheree. Girl, you should have said your prayers before you picked on Sheree. You know that girl can read you for filth. Why would you go for Sheree? Out of everybody in that group to go and try to read, you pick her? Say your blessings, child, because Sheree is legendary for her reads. We all know it. Then Drew says people can't express themselves. They throw a rock and hide their hands. And she's referring to Sheree bringing Fatum because she's saying that Sheree brought Fatum to fight her battles for her. And Sheree is like, no, what Fatum said was exactly what your assistant repeated. And then Sheree now used Fatum's bone that she gave her, which is that she did a background check on Drew. And Drew had all these aliases. Child, we don't know if her name is Drew. Maybe it might be 007. Maybe it might be double 14. I don't know. We don't know which one of her faces exists. So Sheree decides to use it. I'm like, am I talking to this person? Am I talking to this person? Kenya in the corner is critiquing the argument. When Drew says something that makes sense, she was like, When Sheree makes something that makes sense, she's like, like she's looking at it like score one for her. Maybe this one is a 0. Let me just score this one. I like Kenya. Girl, Kenya is a whole mood. If y'all paid attention to how her facial expressions were going when Drew and Sheree were having their argument, and then Drew tells Sheree, maybe because you're aging, your hearing is going. I said, Drew, take a look at Sheree. She is older than you, and her face is just as smooth as you, who's younger than her. You better hope to God you look like that woman when you get old, because Sheree is not ugly. Let's just not try. She picks wrong man, and she picked ugly guy to have babies with, a football player, but that woman is beautiful. Sheree is beautiful, and she works out, and she keeps her body right. Her booty is nice up and tight. So you best be careful picking on her. Your karma might be bad, because we already know that even though you have this workout type situation of meal plans, you had to go have surgery to get your body right. You had to have the mummy makeover to get your body right. This heifer, as old as she is, 50-something years old, even though Marlo shade her and called her 60, she took her behind at the gym and got it all the way right. We didn't see her without makeup. She's all beautiful. Girl, you better not talk about her and her age. You better hope to God you look like her, because karma is a whole bitch. And right now you need surgery to get yourself back up. She didn't. So I'm just saying, pick a different person to pick on. But Drew and Sheree basically let it be known that this is where they stand. They're probably not going to be friends in the future. But then at the end of it, Kandi goes, well, Drew, why don't you just go in and sing Sheree a birthday song? I'm like, Kandi. See, I like Kandi. Kandi is a good cast member for Real Housewives. But she know what she doing. Why are you going to ask this woman that just had a fight and one of them to sing to her? Why? I was cautious of that because Drew was like, oh, would I waste my voice on Sheree? But then they asked you to be the bigger person. She sang, and nobody can lie, Drew's voice is off the chain. Okay, she serenaded Sheree. And if Sheree does not take that as an apology, girl, she serenaded her. She didn't just it was like a happy birthday with a side of soy sauce, some crab legs, some crabs on it with some potatoes, some shrimps, some corn. She got the sausages on the side. Then she got the gumbo. I mean, she just put her whole foot in that happy birthday song. Drew can sing. I'm not gonna lie, she has a good voice. Then we had Sanya now had them sit down, and she wanted to give them the rules for Jamaica. She said no standoffs. We know that's not gonna happen. She said no props. They're gonna buy props there. She said no weed, no jail. Maybe they'll pay attention to that because they don't want to go to Jamaican jail. She said be on your best behavior. Child, bye. You have a whole group of these females that just fought at your house over dinner over some girl named Fatum that's not even there, and you're asking them to be on their best behavior in Jamaica, girl. Whew, they're going to be on their worst behavior. Be ready, because they show the flash forward of what's going to happen, what's to come. We got Kandi arguing with Marlo, finally expressing herself about how she feels. We got Kenya arguing with the host. Hell, even Sanya's husband bucked up and was like, oh, don't mess with my fucking wife. I'm like, girl, all this rules you just listed. Ain't nobody going to follow me. You're not even going to follow them with these group of girls. Girl, just be ready. Be ready. It's going to be a hot mess. And this trip is going to be fun for us. It's going to be a hot mess for you. Kudos. Okay, so that is the end of this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go ahead and watch Basketball Wives. I don't know if I'll be able to do it tomorrow. I'm very much exhausted, and it took me about 6-7 hours just to get energy to do this one review, and I just had to do it because I knew it was gonna be entertaining. But Basketball Wives, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it, so I'll try my best. Look out for it. If I do, make sure your notifications are up and running, and you guys have a good rest of your evening. Okay, bye.